CIU West perspective, I mean, we lobby on these issues for our members all the time, but this bill is different because this bill affects non-unionized people. And it's a huge problem for us because our members' children are affected, our members' grandkids are affected, you guys are affected. Now, before this, did you see the little ads in the Leader Post for the Star Phoenix? Little tiny ads, maybe page 3, and it said, click on this link or go to this website and voice your concerns. I guarantee you that less than 100 people in this province who are not in a union saw that and did something about it, because nobody knows. And labor legislation, let's face it, is not sexy. It's kind of boring, unless you're immersed in it up to your eyeballs. So that's why we are very concerned, because it's people like you who are going to be directly impacted. And you're not going to know until you go to work one day, whether you're working at Starbucks, whether you're working at Sears Clearance Center in Regina, wherever you're working, and your employer says, oh yeah, by the way, next week you're working 10-hour shifts. And then the week after that, oh, we're going to drop you down to 8. You have no guarantees, you have no control. And that's the balance in the workforce. You should have some say in your work. Your employer should as well. But it is a balance. It's a partnership. And so that's why we need you guys to start sending a message to your MLA. Not for union rights, but for workers' rights, because you guys are going to get screwed with your pants on, to be very blunt. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if that's the appropriate thing to do. I work in a kitchen, it's a bit like a pirate ship. So I mean, it's serious business. It affects your parents. It affects your friends. It affects everybody who's getting a paycheck, who's working for a living. And it will affect students most definitely, because you have to balance a hell of a workload in terms of your classes, as well as the work you have to do to pay for those classes, which I'm understanding isn't cheap. So I think we should want you to sign something. It's always dangerous when a union person says, can you sign this? But it's not an organizing card. So what we are asking people to do is to sign this, and I don't know how you pass these around.
They're all around the room, but...
Okay, so we'll just pass these around if you don't mind. Take some and share them. Take some and share them. Share. You can share it. You got some. You can share it. And this isn't like one of those weird sort of, we're going to keep your email address and then launch you later things. All we want you to do is make sure your opinion on this bill is recorded for the government. Because you guys vote. You're the next generation that is reported by governments, and you should have more impact than they give you credit for. It's that simple. I'm tired of people dismissing students, I'm tired of people dismissing non-unionized workers, and I'm tired of any government, I don't care if it's left wing or right wing, I'm tired of them not taking you into account. Someone's got to hear you. But they're not going to hear you if you stay silent. Okay. Questions?
Can I just add something to what you said about
Absolutely. Oh, and by the way, thank you very much for arranging this.
I just wanted to add on what you said about how it specifically affects students with you could be working 10 hours all of a sudden on the weekends and not getting paid overtime for that. But on the other side of that, there's also, they're making changes to the minimum call-out, which is the rule that says if you get called into work, they have to pay for at least 3 hours, which kind of guarantees that it's worth your time to even show up. They want to change that. Right now we have a thing that says
I'm willing to like do whatever possible to let them know, but the election is like how many years from now, right? Like that's years away. I feel like but this deserves more of an action from labor movement and public in general, and almost like today's election that happened in Ontario and BC, right? But this is like a similar scale of attack. So I'm sort of wondering, whether SFL or your union is willing to, in terms of like pressuring the government outside of like emailing. But there's also a stage of like, when to do it.
Well, I'll speak. I don't know how the order works here. So you have made a really good point. I look at this. We're an international union, so we have union members in the United States. And I think everybody knows about what happened in Wisconsin, what happened in Michigan. I mean, these were rock solid, good, strong trade union states, right? And they just got decimated. And it was done sort of, Dave talked about having it done by stealth. We did not, from the labor movement's perspective, we didn't see this coming. We knew there would be some changes, but we did not see this coming, honest to God. So in terms of days of action, there's a couple of pieces I would say from SEIU's perspective. We need to build up our allies. So building up allies within the community sector, building up allies with students. I mean, I don't know how many unions come and do these sorts of presentations, but damn, why wouldn't we? So days of action are also a problem because of the Essential Services Act. And so currently, a day of action says that if members of SEIU West walk off the job and take a one-day general strike, and we pulled students with us, and we pulled people from the community sector, and we build alliances with low-wage, minimum wage workers, our members are about to get a $4,000 fine if our members do that. And so that's a personal fine. The union would get a $50,000 fine. So what you have are a labor movement, especially in the healthcare sector, who have had that sort of yanked out, that piece of carpet yanked out from underneath them. Because quite frankly, I've got 11,000 members in healthcare, 13,000 members across the union, who would like nothing more than to walk out for one day and just tell the employer to go screw themselves. But we can't, because we have such huge fines that are about to hit us, and it's a summary offense, so it stays on our record. So they did that in the Bradwell 1.0 in the first term, and this sweeping labor legislation they introduced in the second term. In terms of political machinations, it's pretty damn smart. In terms of building any sort of relationship or partnership with the labor movement, ain't gonna happen. So that's why you're not seeing a day of action, because in Ontario and BC, they don't have this kind of essential services law. That's kind of the problem. And I wish I could tell you something better, that we're just gonna march off out of the RUH and no.
Yeah, but that's sort of bigger problem. You're afraid of that.
What's that?
Well, they are afraid of that kind of action more than us.
Yeah, members are most definitely afraid of backlash.
Well, what's with the government or the employers don't want that?
Well, and I think the employers were pretty nervous that they were going to see something, because they've already started implementing essential services plans. And in the last round of bargaining, our members were, 90% of our members were deemed essential. So 10% of your members out there with a picket sign, it's pretty lame. It's not very effective, and it doesn't pressure the employer. And that's what a strike's about. It's about pressure. So right now, the government has set up the labor environment, or the working environment, for non-unionized and unionized workers. They've set it up pretty nicely so that there's nothing but, well, stormy seas ahead. I know that sounds kind of corny, but that's what we're looking at.
I wasn't a question. I was just, when I came in, I was talking with this young lady over here, and I was telling her that some of the things, like, because I just had heard about this Bill 85 in the last month or so. And so I've been actually printing out something that was on the web, just a quick notes of what the changes are. And I've actually been physically going out and handing them out to people, because most people who work, they work a lot of hours. And so they don't get the opportunity when they're on, say, social networking places and stuff like that. They're not really wanting to, you know, oh my God, there's something going on with labor. So they're more into, well, what's my friends doing, and, you know, I want to play a game. So what I've started doing is I've just started handing them out to all the businesses, like as I go along and I'm talking to people, and I've just physically been handing them out. So from my perspective, I think that that would be a good and effective way. And I've asked people, I'm networking with people in PA and also in Regina to do the same thing. So I was wondering, you know, have you thought about that as a strategy? Because non-unionized workers will not know about this, and they're not really putting it in the news, and they're not really putting it out there to people who work. Such as my brother, who he's a non-union worker, but he's a pipe and sewer replacement person, and he works a lot of hours. Like, he works, you know, sometimes he's doing 33 hours overtime, and he's very concerned about his time and a half that he, you know, when he's giving up his hours with his family and his free time to finish the job, that he's not going to get paid for that, or he's going to lose his weekends, or, you know, things like that. So has that come up at any of the people that you've spoken to that have actually physically gone out and met the people and actually handed them a piece of paper and said, this is what's happening?
Well, so far what we've been doing is mostly on social media, and building sort of a broad-based movement within our membership to reach out to their connections, much like what you're doing. And social media is great. My son would tell you that I suck at it, but I'm learning, so I guess I get a cookie for that one. But that is being done, like that sort of groundswell, what you're talking about, is being done. Other unions are going out. I know CUPE's going out, and the Federation of Labor, they're sort of holding town hall sessions. And they're holding these town hall sessions outside of the larger centers because, let's face it, I mean, we get a lot more information here in Saskatoon and Regina than they're going to get in Swift Current or Yorkton or Estevan. And those are the places where sometimes you get that bigger groundswell because they have a closer way to reach out to their MLA. Because it's, you know, Doreen, the gal next door, is the MLA, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that the union movement is doing. I think it was last week. There were folks who were on the university campuses and reaching out to SciAS students, doing much the same thing, saying, hey, do you know about this, and having those conversations, and doing that very much member-to-member organizing. And when I say organizing, I'm not talking about signing a union card, I mean organizing around the issue. But it's people like you who take the ball and run with it that gives us more momentum. Yeah.
Do you know yet how it would be enforced?
The legislation. In terms of the summary offense tickets, which we didn't really talk about much, but this one's a kicker, you guys. You have to hear about this. So if you are doing an unsafe act in your workplace, you can get a $250 ticket, you personally. And you can't appeal it. You've got to go to court, pay your ticket. And so your supervisor gets a $250. I think your supervisor actually, they're looking at $500 for your supervisor. And then your employer can either get a ticket or just a notice of contravention, which costs nothing. And how they're going to enforce it is they're going to have occupational health and safety officers. If they happen to catch you doing something bad or unsafe, that's when you'll get a ticket. But what the legislation doesn't tell you, which is in the regulation, is if you do an unsafe act and you hurt yourself on the job and you file a WCB claim,